from the Middle East. Now we move on to North America. The federal government has shut down after lawmakers failed to agree on a budget, affecting operations across October and beyond. States including California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington face cuts in federal funding. About 750,000 federal workers, nearly 40% of the workforce, are on unpaid leave, impacting services from air travel to social programs. National parks, research agencies like CDC and NIH, as well as food assistance programs could see interruptions while essential staffs continue unpaid work. White House freezes infrastructure funding, affecting billions worth of projects in Democratic-run states, deepening the economic impact of this shutdown. Now for this discussion, we're joined by Keith Vaz. He's a former UK minister, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Keith, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, how does this current budget deadlock reflect ongoing political division in Congress and the prospects for resolution?
Good morning, Asma. Of course, we've had shutdowns before. I think one has to understand that whenever you have a division between the presidency and Congress, this happens on a fairly regular basis. It's not happened for a while, but there's always a degree of brinkmanship between a president and Congress. What is unusual about this, of course, is that the Republicans control both houses and the presidency. So what they need to do in circumstances of this kind is to find enough Democrats who will support them to be able to put this through Congress. And at the moment, there aren't the Democrats there. So what President Trump has decided to do, unlike previous presidents, is to blame it on the other party and therefore target his cuts at that other party. So that is why Democratic states have been put in the forefront of any cuts. He's been quite open about saying this gives him an opportunity to, in effect, make major cuts in the way in which things operate in the United States, i.e., let's go for the other party's programs, let's go to the blue states and let's make the cuts there. So this is unusual. No president has been quite so outspoken and partisan as he has been. So that is the problem these states find themselves in. It will be resolved, of course, inevitably, because you can't shut down the US government forever. You have to have it working. So at some stage there will be a compromise. Where it comes from, I don't really know, because you're dealing with some pretty big political figures here.
And what do you think, what will be the main consequences of the federal government shutdown for both Democrats and the Republicans, and also for the reputation of President Trump's administration?
Well, I think in the long run it will have an effect, because the American people will be saying, we've got a president, we've got two houses controlled by the Republicans. We don't understand why they keep blaming the Democrats. So the nuances of the way in which these things are negotiated and passed will be lost on them. I think that it will be resolved. There will be damage. If President Trump can't even run his own country, then other people are going to say, well, what's he trying to do running other countries and interfering in other countries? So it will have a reputational damage. You're quite right, Asma. And in the long run, it will have an effect. But in the short term, it means people are just not being paid. And if they are going to work, they're going to work on the basis that they're not going to get any money for a while. So it will have consequences, there's no doubt about that.
And how will be this freezes on infrastructure funding by the White House affects ongoing projects, particularly in Democratic-run states?
Well, it depends, Asma, whether or not these projects can survive without funding. A lot will say that the funding problem will be solved. And therefore, to that extent, we need to ensure that something happens. But I think in the end of the day, this is, in a sense, bluff, because he can't use this as an opportunity to dismiss people, or he might try, because jobs still need to be done, and they need to be done in those states that are being affected. So yes, there will be a big short-term problem. Long-term, there will be reputational damage, but at the end of the day, it will be funded, because that's what happens always when you have these kinds of standoffs between parties in Congress.
Right. Thank you very much, Keith, for joining us and sharing that